You walk out to the garage on a Saturday morning. You reach for the cordless drill you bought a year and a half ago. The battery is dead, not low. Dead, swollen and useless, the same way the last two died in the drawer. The replacement battery costs $80. A whole new kit costs $150. So you stand there, holding a tool that will not turn, doing the math on buying another one that will do this same thing to you in 2 years. You have done this before. The trim saw that lasted one deck. The sander whose pad tore and could not be matched. The wrench that rounded off a bolt and your knuckles with it. You buy the tool, you use it a handful of times, it breaks, it dies, or it was never any good, and you drive back and buy another. Your grandfather did not live this way. He had a drawer, a pegboard, a shelf of tools he bought once, tools that were old when he got them. Forged steel and hickory he sharpened on a Sunday and used on a Monday. Some of those same tools, the ones he paid a few dollars for, sit in junk boxes today for $10 or $20, and they still outwork anything on the shelf at the big store. I am going to show you 25 of them. What they are, why they still win, and where you find one cheap. Here is the truth. Nobody at the register will tell you. The best tools in this country were already built, made in the years before the companies learned that a tool you cannot fix is worth more than a tool you can. Forged, not stamped. Steel and hickory, not plastic and a battery. Built to be sharpened, oiled, handed down. Your grandfather owned them. Some of you have them in a box in the basement right now and do not know it. So, here are 25. We count up to the one tool no power cord has ever beaten. Start at 25. Before we start the count, you need to know where these tools came from and why they vanished. There was a stretch in this country, from after the war up through the 1960s, when American tools were the best in the world, and everybody knew it. Diston ground saws in Philadelphia, Starrett ground squares in Athol, Massachusetts, Channellock forged pliers in Meadville, Pennsylvania, Vice Grip came out of DeWitt, Nebraska. These were towns built around men who made one thing and made it right. A tool carried the name of the place it was born. The man who bought it expected it to last his life. The maker expected the same. That was the whole bargain. You paid once. You sharpened and oiled it, and you handed it down to a son who handed it down again. Then the bargain changed. The work went overseas to be made cheaper. The forged steel became stamped steel. The hickory became plastic. And the companies discovered a quiet truth that reshaped everything on the shelf. A tool that lasts 50 years gets bought once. A tool that lasts 2 years gets bought again and again. They did not announce it. They just stopped making the good kind. And a country that once made the finest tools on earth slowly forgot it ever had. The tools did not stop working. We just stopped being shown where they went. Number 25, the folding boxwood rule. Before the tape measure, a man measured with boxwood and brass. Lufkin made the best. It opened in jointed sections, lay flat, and stood on edge while you marked, where a steel tape bends in a breeze and reads a fat line. The brass joints wore smooth, not loose. You find them in old tool boxes for a few dollars, and most still read dead true after 60 years. Number 24, the Yankee push drill. Stanley's number 41 drilled small holes by the push of your palm. No battery, no cord. You set the point and pushed, and the spiral spun the bit while a spring brought it back. Pilot holes all day, one hand, bits stored in the handle. A modern drill needs charging and the chuck wears out. The Yankee just pushes, and plenty still spin like the day they left the factory. Number 23, the American Nicholson file. There was a time that name, stamped on a file made in the United States, meant teeth that bit and held. Sharpen a saw, dress a blade, draw file steel bright. The files on the rack today, made cheap overseas, dull on the second job, and skate across hard steel. A worn old American file still outcuts a new one. Card it clean, and it serves another decade. The steel and the cut were simply better. Number 22. Wiss tin snips, hot drop forged, with edges that sheared sheet metal like paper and held for years. J. Wiss & Sons made shears the trades trusted. The stamped snips on the shelf now flex at the pivot and chew the metal, leaving an edge that bites your hand. The old Wiss left a clean line. A pair from the 60s, oiled at the joint, still snips better than anything in a blister pack. Number 21. The Stanley number 80 cabinet scraper. A steel sole, 2 handles, and a thin blade you bend to a fine hook. It pulls a whisper-thin shaving and leaves a surface no sandpaper matches. No dust, no power, no swirl marks. The orbital sander fills the shop with grit and a worn pad every few weeks. The scraper makes a curl of wood and a glass-smooth board. Sharpen the hook in a minute, and it works again. Furniture makers hoard the old ones. Number 20. The Stanley 151 spokes. Halve. A little plane with wings for handles, made to shape a curve. Chair legs, tool handles, anything round. Pull it along the grain and it peels a clean ribbon. Nothing on the power wall does this gentle work without burning or tearing. A sander rounds things over and blurs the line. The spokes halve keeps it crisp. They turn up at estate sales for a few dollars, often still sharp enough to use that afternoon. Number 19. The draw knife. A wide blade with a handle at each end, pulled toward you to strip bark, shape a beam, or rough out a handle. Centuries old and never improved upon. The old ones were forged from good carbon steel and held an edge through hard use. No electric version does this work with any feel. It takes off exactly as much as you ask, no more. A rusty one off a barn wall cleans up sharp. The steel does not forget how to cut. Number 18. The Yankee spiral ratchet screwdriver. Push the handle down and the bit spins and drives the screw. North Brothers built it. Stanley carried it on, the number 130. This is how a man hung 100 doors without a sore wrist. It never runs out of charge, and it never strips a battery contact. They are built like a watch, and most still spin smooth. A drop of oil down the shaft, and a 60-year-old Yankee drives screws as fast as you set them. Number 17. The plumb claw hammer. American hickory handle, forged head, balanced so the weight did the work and your elbow did not. The heads did not fly off and the faces did not chip. Drive nails all day, and the hickory soaked up the shock. The steel and fiberglass hammers sold now ring in your hand and hammer your joints. When a hickory handle finally breaks, you fit a new one for a few dollars and keep the head you trust. The head outlives the man. Number 16. The bit brace. A hand crank with a sweep that gave torque no drill motor matches for the price. Stanley and Miller's Falls made fine ones. You bored a clean inch-wide hole in oak with the turn of your shoulder, and the ratchet let you work in a corner. No cord to trip on, no torque setting to guess at. A brace and a set of auger bits off a flea market table costs little and bores holes a homeowner drill stalls in. The leverage is in the geometry. Number 15. The Miller's Falls Number 2 hand drill. The egg beater. A crank and a pair of cut gears that spun a small bit fast and clean. For little holes, it was quick, quiet, and exact, and the gears ran smooth for generations. A cordless drill is overkill for a pilot hole and dead when you reach for it. The egg beater is ready the moment you pick it up. Find one with no slop in the gears, and it outlasts the next 3 drills you buy. Number 14. The Stanley Number 45 combination plane. One tool that cut grooves, dados, beads, and rabbits, with a box of cutters for every profile. Nickel-plated cast iron, fences, depth stops, a little machine of a thing. It did the work of a whole rack of router bits without the screaming dust. A rotor is faster, louder, and throws chips in your face. The 45 works to a line you can see, in quiet. A complete one still cuts a crisp bead today. Number 13. The Stanley Number 71 router plane. It cleans the bottom of a groove or a hinge mortise to a dead flat, even depth, the blade riding steady below the sole. For setting a hinge flush or an inlay tight, nothing beats it. The electric router that took its name is a blunt instrument by comparison, and a wandering bit ruins the work in a second. The hand router takes a controlled shaving and stops where you tell it. The old ones are machined better than anything new at the price. Number 12. The Stanley Number 358 miter box and its back saw. Cast iron. The saw guided dead true at any angle, cutting a miter so clean the joint closed with no gap. The flimsy plastic boxes today flex and let the saw wander. A power miter saw does it fast, costs a great deal, and throws a cloud of dust. The old iron box cut quiet and exact, and resharpened forever. They sell cheap because nobody wants to carry one home. Carry it home. Number 11. Channel lock tongue and groove pliers. Made in Meadville from good steel, with a jaw that gripped and did not slip the channel under load. The bargain bin pliers spread at the joint and round off your nut. A vintage pair, the rivet snug and the teeth sharp, grips like a vice. They cost a couple of dollars used and outlast the toolbox they ride in. Good American pliers were never complicated. They just had to be made right. Number 10. Klein Lineman's pliers, the tool every electrician trusted. Forged with cutters that sheared hard wire flush and a grip that twisted conductors tight. Klein made them in Chicago, and they held an edge through years of daily use. The discount pliers nick on the first hard wire and never cut clean again. A Klein from the 60s, cutters still keen, snips and grips like new. You can spend a little on an old pair, or a little less on a new pair you replace twice. Number 9. The original vice grip locking pliers. William Peterson made them in DeWitt, Nebraska, and they clamped with a force your hand could never hold. Set the screw, squeeze, and the jaws lock. They turned a rounded bolt, held a weld, freed a stripped screw. The locking pliers sold offshore now lose their snap, and the jaws splay. An old American vice grip still locks with a satisfying click and holds until you let it go. Stamped with the town name, grab them wherever you see them. Number 8. The Crescent adjustable wrench, made in America. Crescent of Jamestown, New York, gave the wrench its name, and the old forged ones had jaws that stayed parallel and a worm gear that did not slip. The thin adjustables today flex and let the jaw open under load, rounding off your work. A vintage Crescent grips like a fixed wrench. Forged, not cast. They sell for a few dollars, and one good adjustable does the work of a drawer full of bad ones. Number 7. The rigid, heavy-duty pipe wrench. Rigid set the standard the whole trade measured against, built to take a cheater bar and a lifetime of grunting on rusted pipe. The teeth bit harder the harder you pulled. The cheap pipe wrenches today spring open, chew the pipe, and slip. A vintage rigid locks on and turns. They were guaranteed for life and meant it. You still see them on trucks because the grandfather bought one and the grandson is still using it. Buy the old one. Number 6. The Craftsman ratchet and socket set, made in the USA. Sears sold them with a lifetime warranty and meant it. And the old forged sockets and fine-tooth ratchets matched anything in a professional box. The chrome did not flake. The ratchet did not skip. The sets sold now round off, and the Powell wears. A vintage USA Craftsman set turns bolts as sweet as the day Sears sold it. Garage sales are full of them because a man left them to a son who did not know what he had. You know. Number 5. The Wilton Bullet Machinist's Vise. Cast in one heavy piece, the body swiveling, the jaws closing dead parallel under tons of force. Wilton built them in Chicago to a standard that made every other vise look flimsy. Clamp a piece of steel and hammer on it, and it does not flinch. The cheap vices today crack at the casting the first time you really lean on them. A Wilton bolts to your bench and never moves again. They cost real money used, and they are worth every cent. Number 4. The Starrett Combination Square. Starrett of Athol, Massachusetts, ground the blade and head to a precision a machinist trusts his life's work to. Dead square, dead flat, locking sure. A combination square from the bargain bin is out of square in the package and only gets worse, and you cannot do fine work with a tool that lies to you. An old Starrett still reads true to 1,000th. It is the one tool a careful worker will not buy cheap. Find a used one and you have bought truth itself. Number 3. The Diston handsaw. Henry Diston of Philadelphia made the saws that built America, and the D23 and D8 from the Goodyears had taper-ground blades that cut fast and straight and took a sharpening forever. The hard-point saws sold, now cut for a season, then hit the trash because nobody made them to be sharpened. A Diston cleaned of rust and freshly filed cuts circles around them, and you can sharpen it on the bench for 50 more years. They are everywhere, they are cheap, and most just need a file. Number 2. The Stanley Sweetheart 750 socket chisels. Ground from high-carbon steel that took an edge keen enough to shave, and held it through hard paring, with the socket taking a handle that never worked loose. The chisels in the rack today are soft, and the edge folds the first time it meets a knot. A Sweetheart, sharpened on a stone, slices end grain like cheese. Cabinet makers pay good money for them used, and they are right to. A sharp old chisel of good steel is a joy the new ones cannot touch. And number 1. The Stanley, Bailey, and Bedrock bench planes. The number 4 and the number 5, made in the Goodyears, are the soul of a workshop. A cast iron body, a machined sole, a blade of good steel bedded in a frog you set to a hair. Tuned right, it takes a shaving you can read a newspaper through and leaves a board glass smooth and dead flat. No power tool does this. A planer roars and tears out grain. A sander blurs and dusts. The hand plane works in quiet and leaves a shine sandpaper cannot make. The Bedrock with its solid bedding is the finest of them. Cleaned and sharpened, a plane your grandfather's age outperforms anything with a cord. It is the king of the old bench, and it still wears the crown. Now let me tell you what happened to all of it. plainly, the way I always do. This is not a story about a villain. There is no one twirling a mustache at the hardware company. It is quieter and simpler than that. Look at the math the way the shelf sees it. A new cordless drill kit runs you $150. The battery dies in 2 or 3 years, and a replacement battery is $80. So that one job costs you $150 up front and a new kit every few years after. A used hand drill costs $15 one time and never asks for another cent. One of those is a customer for life. The other is a customer once. A tool built to last 50 years gets sold once. A tool built to last 2 years gets sold 25 times. You do not have to be wicked to see which one a business would rather build. That is just the way the money runs downhill. So the forged steel became stamped. The hickory became fiberglass. The serviceable parts got sealed up so you could not fix them, only throw them out and buy again. None of it was announced. The shelves just filled with tools priced cheap today and gone by spring. Walk the aisles now. The drill comes with a battery that costs nearly as much as the drill. The saw is plastic where it used to be iron. The wrench flexes. You are not buying a tool. You are renting one, badly, on a payment plan of your own forgetting. You are not buying junk because junk is all there is. You are buying it because nobody showed you the drawer where the good tools went. Here is why the old steel actually wins in plain English. When a tool is forged, the steel is hammered into shape while it is hot. That hammering lines up the grain of the metal, the way the grain runs in a piece of wood, and follows the curve of the tool. A forged wrench or plier carries its strength right where the load falls. When a tool is cast or stamped instead, the grain runs every which way, and it cracks or bends where a forged one holds. Then there is the heat treat. The old makers heated and cooled the steel just so, hard enough to hold an edge, tough enough not to chip. That is why a sweetheart chisel takes a shaving edge and a cheap one folds on the first knot. Your grandfather never said grain flow or heat treat. He did not know the words and did not need them. He just knew a forged tool did not round off, and a good chisel stayed sharp. He was right, so here is what I want you to do. The next time you need a tool, before you drive to the big store, look first at an estate sale, a flea market, the back of a relative's garage. Look for the old name stamped in the steel. Diston, Starrett, Stanley, Wilton, Plum. Pick the tool up and feel the weight of it. That weight is the thing they took out. You can buy a tool today for $150 that you will throw away by next year. Or you can buy a tool your grandfather's age for $15 that will outlast you and go to whoever comes next. One costs more and gives less. The other costs almost nothing and asks for nothing again. These tools are not gone. They sit in drawers and on pegboards in 10,000 garages, waiting for someone who knows what they are. Now you know. This is not about old tools being charming. It is about refusing to be sold the same thing twice. If this is the kind of knowing you want kept alive, subscribe. There is a great deal more where this came from. The good steel is still out there. Go find it before someone scraps it.